Let f of x equals 2 log base 2 of 3x plus log base 2 of 2x minus log base 2 of 6x. All of those logs. It's like we're building a cabin. And then we have just one down here, but a bunch of stuff happening on the inside. So what am I supposed to do? Condense f of x into a single logarithm. So I'm going to need some space, so I'm going to write this over here. The first thing that I want to do is take these 2's, right? Or just that 2. I was thinking maybe there would be more. Any coefficient that you see in a log, you're going to make an exponent. So step number 1 is going to turn that first term into log base 2 of 3x squared. We're not going to touch this guy yet. We're not going to touch this guy yet. And even in the next step, we're not going to touch either of them either. Because when I square a parentheses, I square both parts of that parentheses, not just like the x. So this actually becomes log base 2 of 3 squared, which is 9, x squared, plus log base 2 of 2x minus log base 2 of 6x. Whenever you add 2 logs of the same base, you multiply the insides. So this guy becomes log base 2 of 18, because 9 times 2, x squared times x is x cubed, and then I still have minus log base 2 of 6x lingering around. When you subtract logs of the same base, you divide the insides. So you become log base 2 of 18x cubed over 6x. And that's going to simplify to 18 over 6 is 3, x cubed over x is x squared. So f of x, written as a single logarithm, is going to be log base 2 of 3x squared. Fun stuff. Now for part B, I'm going to do literally the opposite. I'm going to take something that's already put together and rip it apart. So let's take u, move it down here, right, and say log base 2 of 64x. Well, if I'm going to rip stuff apart, I'm probably going to do the opposite of me turning that coefficient into an exponent and me taking an exponent and turning into a coefficient. 64 is 2 to the 6th power. Okay, and then I have x just kind of lingering there. All right, so what I'm going to do first is to separate these. I'm going to realize, well, if I'm multiplying 2 to the 6th and x, it's probably because I added previously. So you become log base 2 of 2 to the 6th plus log base 2 of x. Take that 6, bring it out, and now we end up with 6 log base 2 of 2. I know you're going to want to turn that into something, but don't. Plus log base 2 of x. So g of x, when ripped apart, is 6 log base 2 of 2 plus log base 2 of x. Now, what I want to do is find an x such that f of x equals g of x. Well, I want them all put together in order for me to do this. I want to use this version of part A, the one that's already condensed, and this version of part B. Because by setting these two equal to each other, I have a log base 2 of 3x squared equal to a log base 2 of, what was it, 64x. Okay. When you have a log base 2 equals log base 2, or a log of anything, as long as the same base equals a log of anything, you cancel each other out just like that. Here's why. If I were to take 2 and make that a base and make my logs an exponent, that cancels you out, leaving me with just 3x squared equals 64x. Now what I want to do is I want to subtract both sides by 64. So let's go and do just that. Let's go up here and show those steps. We've got 3x squared minus 64x equals 0. I can whip out an x, but that's it. 3x minus 64. Now, my zero product property says they're going to be 0. Here, if I'm going to do this, I have to do 3x minus 64 equals 0. To save some time, I'm going to add 64 to both sides. So that's going to equal 64. And I'm going to divide it by 3, divide it by 3. And so x is going to equal 64 over 3. Now, here's where you have to be very, 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 very careful. Whenever you're solving a log and you get more than one answer, chances are one of those answers won't work. And why won't it work? Because it's going to have the log of a 0 or a log of a negative, both of which are illegal. You can't take the log of a 0 and you can't take the log of a negative number. This guy right here is not a possibility. Because if I were to take you and plug you into literally any one of these, you won't work, you won't work, you won't work, you won't work. However, if I take 64 over 3, which is 21.3 repeating, I could plug that into 3 and it would stay positive. Plug it in here and it will stay positive. Plug it in here, plug it in here. It will all work for all of them. It'll work for all of them. So you are a solution, whereas that 0 was not. So keep in mind, you're going to have answers that don't work. But that, boys and girls, concludes free response question number 3. One more to go and we're done this Unit 2 practice test.